All right, MMN, everybody, Master Mason note. So that could be the N versus NP problem, the NP problem versus the MP problem, that's military police problem, and anything else on the floor. So again, welcome to the Hydron Collider. So I got some information up there. Really, I want to focus on 83 for the ASVAB again. It has legal tendencies on the speculative nature of the measurement for what Jordan Patterson is considering academically to burn down this ground in what IQ is, what the irrational question and therefore mass in general answer would be. Here, generally, I had, this morning we unloaded. I had 2 big stacks of this stuff, probably up to the top of the rail there, back to back. And, that was my Gen Rev 9 Terminator Day. There's multiple timelines and functions that divert on that. A lot of this is a chemical reaction here based in a field of a tachyon. That tachyon is the marshmallow in its entirety for this point. It's a gluon, it's a neutron, an electron, a proton, an antiproton. If the skeletal structure of that Rev 9, General Relativity 9, variation, that stone mill over there is 8. Any setups, like there might be file 4 for your resume, variables, and what have you. And again, they would divert in the same way actively to the marshmallow you're about to put it to. And it's going to have anti-particle effects into it. This is the factory here. We make those reactions and collisions here because as this hit the time table there, it creates tachyon. We're not talking about Will Ferrell, Land Before the Time here. We're talking about the technical time frames that divert geodesic manifolding hypercubing systems, which is general relativity, a geodesic manifolding house-dwarfed scale, tread line, fat saw, a brownie factory, an antimatter factory, a hadron collider, so on and so forth. And the measurement is A and B. So you'll often hear me say something about sexual behavioral at Stanford, and there's the guy out there, and he'll often talk to you. Manic, bipolar, schizophrenic. We got trends, we got pattern, we got saw operations, forklift systems. Manic, saw, doing both, n1/2, source code, x, y, z, x sine, y asterisk, z degree. And inside here, we'll start to define the limits. I mean, x and y, I know this stone right here has certain time frame. Well, the crack on the end, that Y's that down. If that whole block did that, then I would range that average in general, even though it might be at an angle for the way that ball Newtonianly rolls on that. And statistically, over multiple days, I would say I would range that. I would give you both numbers on that. 46, 29, 34th place, given those blocks, and which one I'm going to run first up here, because that changes its mass. And if I'm correct as a master mason, is to say I'm one with that universe. I'm one very zen Z function to what that mechanics is. So who else we got? We got investigation and on the lying and questioning. It's not just interrogation. This is what's your job, Mason Robot, right? Yeah, if you don't know, I mean, that's not necessarily always your fault. And that's not always the manager's fault. I talk about OSHA, MSHA, governmental rules here because somebody had to train somebody. It wasn't. How do we start properly negotiating that? Because what's the measurement between a salty and a sharps officer in terms of proper efficiency in this parallaxing hadron collider that you would be standing in right now? And so what's your first step? What are those frames? Remember, we're not getting weird numbers. We're not trying to figure out N, 1, sigma sum, what do you got? K, 97% of the universe. Here I know this is 97% of the universe, and I know individually all their mass in 1 cubes, 1 points, I equals 1. n equals 1, n equals 0, we're saying this into stone in this operation. 0, it's non-local to all mathematics. And -1, I was looking for mathematics and you gave me stonemason. I was looking for stonemason and you gave me a quantum physicist. To the triple point of where x, y, and you would be standing z to your elevation or underwater, there, +1, here, -1. The calculations that range this trigonometry on that wave function between these 2 points on a higher oscillating function would correlate a time distance, or how you run a tread. And again, that's 80 or 97% of this first rock. Being straight up and down, that's part of the grade. Now, I said something about AR-15 steel, the Terminator there. In sub-operations for stem testing the Green Revolution in Africa, you're saying, I want to do that. Is it height off of there, pitch, roll, and yaw, silica composition? If all the rocks follow this, it's great, but there are multiple blocks that come in here. And that starts the one irrational number here in a positive case for classes. If we want the numbers for classes, out here in the stone mill, this is -101. And it's just a constant in general relativity. All kinds of positives in here. You got to catch those irrationals, figure out if that's sigma sum n plus, 1, parentheses n plus 1, so on. We're saying that one part of the universe is space and time together. That has a value of 1 calculation. Even if the weight of this rock was 300 pounds, that's one of them. And so you get into those operations as I was explaining. The first rock that burns, AR-15, your metallurgy, your plasticity for mathematics, psychology, and things like that in here correlate to those 4 main groups: psychology, engineering, mathematics, whatever. Throw one in there, X, Y, and Z. Remember, these 2 are 1 zeros from apart, and so are these ones. There are arbitrary lines on wiggly squiggly frames that says from this horizon to that squishy cat over there. So obviously there's a lot more notes that you can give for this. Remember, it's a little bit tight, right? Because stonemason. And it's also pretty sharps in here. Here's a case. Here was a physics on an incident report from the cameras. Well, that right there's got a crack on it. We're looking at 6-footers out here at the bottom of that stack. Nope. Out of gas on the stoichiometric ratio of burning this because I hit 90 pounds. Nope, you'll see me do it on the floor. What physics does that represent? A constant from that 1.01 and the continuance of that mathematics as it generates through. Just like your recognition of these tests for 83, why you study, why you come prep for an ASVAB. And why, as a Master Mason at 60 days in the 90-day Master Mason channel, you start talking about local recruiting militia sergeants and start integrating steps to those things. You make sure everybody keeps this thing in this gravity well, because that's how time will dictate. Now, hopefully, if you do that correctly, you've done it correctly. Catch you on the next one.